Early in the morning, Jesus got up, left the house while it was still dark outside, and went to a deserted place to pray. Peter and the others traveling with Jesus, awakened by the beauty of another morning, looked for him. They finally tracked him down.
Jesus, we've been looking all over for you. Everyone wants to know where you are.
I think it's time that we move on and go and continue to spread the good news of God's kingdom. After all, that is why I'm here.
As Jesus went around preaching and teaching and healing, many people were amazed. All they could do was shake their heads, thank God for the miracles, and say to each other, but y'all know everybody wasn't happy about the miracle worker. Scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees, they were not his biggest fans. Scribes were usually connected to the Pharisees. The Pharisees were a popular Jewish sect. They were mostly middle class and religiously strict when it came to following the laws of God. The Sadducees were a smaller Jewish group. They were made up of priests and aristocrats from Jerusalem. The two groups often clashed with each other. They didn't always agree politically nor theologically, but they found common ground in opposing Jesus. One Sabbath, Jesus and his disciples were walking through a field of grain. As they walked, his disciples grew hungry. They began to pull from the stalks and eat. The Pharisees confronted him.
Did you see that?
Why do your disciples do things that our laws forbid on the Sabbath?
Do you remember the story about King David and what he and his followers did when they were hungry?
They said nothing, so he continued.
Now, the bread that the priests eat is consecrated for God. Now, when David was hungry, he went into the house of God, ate the bread that was consecrated for God, and then fed the rest to his followers.
Jesus was trying to teach them that the Sabbath was made for the needs of human beings and not the other way around. But what happened next showed that they clearly missed the message. Jesus went into a synagogue where he saw a woman with a withered hand. The Pharisees held their breath and whispered among themselves,
would Jesus be crazy enough to cure this person on the Sabbath right here in front of everyone?
If he does, we can charge him with breaking the Sabbath.
Jesus knew their hearts. He was disappointed, but he wasn't scared. He called to the woman with the withered hand.
Come.
The woman, she approached as Jesus asked the Pharisees a question.
Now, do our laws say that we should do good or evil on the Sabbath?
Again, they remained silent. Jesus was furious as he looked at the crowd of these so-called religious leaders. He probably wondered, how could anyone care so much about the words of God's law, but so little about the spirit of it? Jesus turned his attention to the woman with the withered hand and he said,
so be it. Stretch forth your hand.
She stretched out her hand, and as she did, it was completely healed. The religious leaders left the synagogue, and it was there at that moment that they began to discuss how they would get rid of Jesus. Meanwhile, Jesus and his followers traveled to the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and it was there at the shore of the Sea of Galilee that a huge crowd gathered. People had come from miles to see this man they were hearing about. Jesus and his disciples went into a house to eat, but so many people crowded in to see Jesus that the host could not serve Jesus or the disciples. When Jesus' family heard about the craziness that he wasn't eating, his mother Mary went to the house with the intention to drag him out of that place. At the same time, the scribes, they came down from Jerusalem and spread the slander that Jesus was in cahoots with the devil.
Now you all better watch out for that prophet, Jesus. He cast out devils by the power of Beelzebul, the prince of demons.
When Jesus heard what the scribe was saying, he explained the absurdity of the claim.
Listen, how can Satan drive out Satan? A kingdom at war against itself will fail. A house divided will fall. So if Satan opposes himself, he is already defeated.
Meanwhile, Jesus' mother was trying to break through the crowd, and she could not. So she sent word into Jesus that he needs to come out to see her.
But your mother and brothers are waiting outside for you.
Who are my mother and brothers?
No one spoke. So he looked at those gathered close and he smiled.
Anyone who does the will of God is not only my mother, but also my brother.
The Bible doesn't document Mary's response, but because we will see her later in our story, we can assume that she was not offended by her son's response and answer. It further solidified, though, his claim to be on a mission from God.